Hi, it's UHD Carlson here. I've covered a lot of Batman on this channel, and I'm probably going to continue to cover a lot of Batman releases as well. Today, we're taking a look at some of my favorite Batman movies, having gotten a 4K release a few years back. This is the Dark Knight Trilogy, directed by Christopher Nolan. I'm going to unbox this release, and I'll share my opinions. And I'm not going to talk about the actual movies too much, because those have been pretty much reviewed to death, but I'll at least give an idea of some of my opinions, favorite performances, things like that. And this does include 3 movies: Batman Begins from 2005, The Dark Knight from 2008, and The Dark Knight Rises from 2012. First release we get in this set is Batman Begins. This, of course, was the first Batman movie after an 8-year or so hiatus following the commercial and critical failure of Batman and Robin. People thought that Batman was pretty much a dead movie property at this point, but Christopher Nolan proved the naysayers wrong. And right here we have our movie on 4K, we have the movie on Blu-ray, and underneath here we actually have a separate Blu-ray disc of special features. And if you look at the critic quote on the cover here, it even says, "One of the year's best films, 2 thumbs way up, Ebert and Roper." Roger Ebert infamously did not give a lot of positive reviews to the prior Batman movies. I think the only one he actually gave thumbs up to prior to this was Mask of the Phantasm, the animated film. But this is the movie that shows us how Batman became Batman, training with the League of Shadows, following the death of his parents when he was a little boy. And he comes back to Gotham to try to clean it up, but doesn't agree with the League of Shadows' philosophy on becoming executioners. And then he finds himself, of course, doing battle with them again. But he has plenty of allies in his corner, including his childhood friend Rachel Dawes, who's become an assistant DA, his longtime butler Alfred, played by Michael Caine, one of the all-time great actors, quite possibly the best Alfred that I've ever seen on big screen. Lucius Fox, portrayed by Morgan Freeman, the man who invents a lot of the technology that Batman uses in his battles. Commissioner Gordon, portrayed by Gary Oldman. Actually, in this movie, he's not yet commissioner, but you introduce him, and of course, he plays a role in the sequels as well. And it's just an all-around great cast. I mean, Liam Neeson plays one of the heads of the League of Shadows. You have Cillian Murphy portraying Dr. Jonathan Crane, the Scarecrow, a villain that never actually appeared in the prior Burton Schumacher Batman series. And this movie just really grounded the series, brought it more back to reality, which is really what the series needed after Batman and Robin. Christopher Nolan absolutely proved that he was the right man to handle the Dark Knight's legacy, and that would, of course, continue with the next film in the series, The Dark Knight, which was released in 2008. This film, of course, featured Heath Ledger as the Joker, who actually died before the movie came out, but fortunately did finish filming all of his scenes prior to that. There's the movie in 4K, movie in Blu-ray, and once again, underneath here, we do have a Blu-ray disc of special features. And here, a few months have passed since the events of Batman Begins, and the criminal underworld is really shaken up. The Joker comes onto the scene and allies himself with a lot of the criminals, but they quickly discover that they're in over their heads. Batman finds himself dealing with a complete madman who has nothing to lose, and it's not long before the stakes are higher than ever. This movie is one of the greatest movies I've ever seen, period. I'm not talking superhero movies, I'm not talking comic book movies. It's one of the best movies I've ever seen, period. Christopher Nolan, again, absolutely grounded the character of Batman. His movies almost feel more like crime dramas than superhero movies, and The Dark Knight is just absolute perfection of this. Heath Ledger's performance as the Joker is something that has to be seen to be believed. I mean, he's dark, demented, violent, but also quite funny at times, which is what the Joker absolutely requires. Supporting cast, once again, is very good, and the character of Rachel Dawes here, Maggie Gyllenhaal, replaces Katie Holmes, who played the role in the first film. And then you have a lot of familiar faces returning, including the likes of Morgan Freeman, Michael Caine, and the rest. And you even have Aaron Eckhart portraying Harvey Dent. If you've ever seen any Batman media or read a Batman comic book, you know who Harvey Dent will inevitably become, and that makes for some of the most interesting drama, action, and violence this movie has to offer. Again, one of my all-time favorite movies, certainly my favorite Batman movie ever made. And then the series was concluded in 2012 with The Dark Knight Rises. This movie is set 8 years after the events of The Dark Knight, and Bruce Wayne's great personal losses have made him something of a recluse, and he's quit being Batman. But he ends up having to come back into action when a lot of strange going-ons in Gotham threaten his existence, and the supervillain Bane comes to town to finish the League of Shadows' goal, having been excommunicated from the group in his younger years. And this time around, the film is certainly a little more overlong, overplotted, and has way too much going on, but I have to say, it is still a good film overall. Christopher Nolan once again keeps bringing the punches. Anne Hathaway portraying Selina Kyle in this film is absolutely fantastic. Certainly one of my favorite character portrayals in Christopher Nolan's version of Batman. And then you have Tom Hardy portraying Bane, who absolutely does justice to this character. It's a much better incarnation than the sort of goofy, campy version we got way back in the day with Batman and Robin. So Nolan finishes off his trilogy in pretty fine form. It would have been interesting to see if he'd made more movies. I mean, we actually have a minor role in this film from Joseph Gordon-Levitt playing a detective with the Gotham PD, and you kind of get an idea of who he might have become had this series continued. Overall, though, Christopher Nolan directed an excellent trilogy of movies here, and I'm glad to have them on 4K. The discs look pretty good overall, although I do have to say, each film looks progressively better than the last. Batman Begins does have some scenes where the black levels aren't great, and there's some really soft-looking shots, which imply there may have been some noise reduction or possibly some softening in post-production, not necessarily for the home video release. Dark Knight is a step up, looking much better in almost every way. The Dark Knight and The Dark Knight Rises both have scenes that were shot in IMAX, and I'm happy to say that the taller IMAX ratio is preserved on these discs, so you do get that shifting ratio. Dark Knight Rises is the best looking of the three films that are featured in the set. And overall, I will say they are an upgrade over the Blu-rays. The HDR does give them a nice little touch. You get an entire disc on Blu-ray of bonus features for each of the films, so it's good to see that Warner didn't skimp on that material. I don't know if every single feature here is from the prior releases. I don't know if anything's missing from those earlier releases, but it is a pretty nice haul of stuff. A lot of it's the standard EPK type stuff, but I am happy to see bonus features here. So if you are a fan of Batman, you should absolutely own these Christopher Nolan Batman movies in 4K. This set definitely gets my recommendation. How about you? What did you think of Christopher Nolan's take on Batman? Do you have them on 4K yet? Comment down below and let me know what you think. Also, remember to subscribe to this channel for more content. I'm always posting new videos, and make sure you give this one a like if you found it helpful. I'm Taylor T. Carlson. I'll see you next time.